Make this Halloween one to remember. Join me, Greg Bakun, for a special 4-hour GhostBox Radio Halloween broadcast Friday, October 31st, starting at 7 p.m. We're going live from the haunted Pillsbury Club in Minneapolis, the new home of the Minneapolis Trolley Tours. I'll be joined by Adam, Refined Divine, Char Savoy, and other guests for a real paranormal investigation inside the Pillsbury Club, filled with spirit stories and maybe a few surprises. Want to experience it in person? Trolley tours will be running all night, and if you stop by the club, just say GhostBox Radio at the door to check out the broadcast. Can't make it? Watch the entire investigation live on Facebook and YouTube. So grab your flashlight, light your jack-o'-lantern, and tune in for a night of chills, laughs, and things that go bump on the radio. GhostBox Radio Halloween broadcast, Friday, October 31st, 7 to 11 p.m. Check out trolley times at MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us tonight as we are in October. You know, throughout the year, we talk paranormal, we talk spooky, we talk all this wonderful stuff. But as we are getting into Halloween and we are just days away from it, I thought to myself, I'd really like to try something special, to get someone that I really have watched over many years and enjoyed what she has brought to the horror community, as well as, dare I say, what her father did, which kind of starts it all. And I just was like, how can I do this? And this is one of those situations where you just, you know what, reach out. You never know what's going to happen. I really didn't expect to get an answer. Nothing against my guests. It's just that a lot of people are very busy, especially this time of year. So when I reached out to Sara Karloff would you come on the show? Would you talk about your father and everything? I just kind of expected, like, oh, we got lots of stuff going on. It's October, Greg. Thank you. In fact, she wrote back very quickly and offered to come on. And I thought since she agreed to do so, I thought I would maybe press it a little bit longer and say, can you come on for the entire show? And once again, I was very grateful that she said that she would. The thing about growing up, and I know that this is something that she will have heard a million times, is, some of my first movie memories is of Frankenstein or any of the Universal pictures. And the idea of seeing these films over and over and over again and never getting tired of them is something that I absolutely treasure. And so last couple of years, we've had episodes talking about them around this time of year. This time, I'm super excited because we're going to have on a great guest that's talking about her father's work. Her father, of course, being Boris Karloff, her being Sara Karloff, and keeping everything going for the Karloff name and family. Sara, welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. And, I want to start off with this because you and I were talking off air about this, and you corrected me rightly so, as I said that, thank you for keeping, your father's memory going, and you had a very strong response to that, and I'd like you to share that.
Well, it's not me, it's the fans. The fans are wonderful, and they are the ones that have kept my father's legacy alive, who they're just wonderful. And any appearances I do, anything I do, I get to meet my father's fans, and they, I'm nothing but a conduit for people who wish they'd had an opportunity to meet my father, to ask my father certain questions. And what I've learned is that the fans know far more about my father and his career than I could ever learn. And I have to apologize. That's the phone I didn't turn off. And I don't have, here it is.
That's
Oh,
that's
goodness. I'm
that's
sorry.
Nope, that's quite all
Hello?
right.
Yes, I'm doing a Zoom call now, but okay, you got it. Okay. Okay, sorry. It's taken care of.
No, I mean, I'm one of those people that no one ever calls. So that's the part that I'm.
Well, that was terribly important. It was my dog's vet, so it was important.
Absolutely.
And my helper got it. So.
Did I see a cat walking behind you?
Not a cat.
That's a dog?
Oh my goodness.
Well,
That's my Bedlington Terrier. That's
see.
my dog. And my folks brought the first male Bedlington Terrier over from England in the 30s to the West Coast. And it's a wonderful breed of dog. It doesn't shed, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And they look like a lamb. Their disposition is not lamb-like at all. They don't like other dogs. She may wander in and out. She thinks this is all about her.
Well, and rightly so. I mean, honestly,
she's absolutely right.
She's absolutely, and
there are wonderful photographs of my father holding Bedlingtons on his lap or being. At one time, my folks had 22 dogs in Beverly Hills.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Oh my goodness, indeed. And they had Bedlingtons, they had Scotties, and they had West Highland Terriers. But they were responsible for bringing the first Bedlington over from England in the 30s. So this is my 5th Bedlington. I hope she didn't hear me say that.
No, right, exactly. Well, and after we're done here, I'll look up the differences between cats and dogs because clearly I don't know. And
they all have 4 legs and a tail.
Exactly, they're all.
But
yeah,
they are different.
They are different. That's if I learn anything from tonight, that's going to be it.
Absolutely. You only caught a glimpse of a rear end, so you're forgiven for the mistake.
I appreciate it. Sara, getting ready for this weekend, I watched a relatively recent restoration of Frankenstein 1931 with in 4K. And I was watching it, and I love the film. I always love the film. I'll tell you, though, it's been a few years since I watched it, and it was actually kind of hard for me to watch. And I'll tell you why. It's because your father playing the role of the monster is so convincing, and everyone, every single person, a part of a little girl, treats him like crap, treats the monster horribly. It's actually really hard to see this sort of like group, attack on this one entity. I don't even know if you can call the monster a person because it's like this homemade person. It didn't ask to be brought back to life or anything. And once again, that all comes down to your father and the idea of like, even early on in shots when he's putting his hands up, he's tearing, his eyes are glossy. I mean, those are just wonderful pieces that, you would think that you wouldn't expect to see from monsters. At least I wouldn't. Let's put it that way.
He's a creature, not a monster.
Thank you.
He's in that he was the victim and not the perpetrator.
Yep.
And he often said that kids got it. Like little Maria. He said that kids understood that the creature was the victim. And he reacted to violence, but he did not instigate violence. There's my dog.
Yeah. It looks more like a dog now.
Yes, certainly. That's because she is one. And adults were ready to be frightened.
Yeah.
Ready to be scared. but kids weren't, and they got the empathy that was necessary to understand the creature.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think, and this is, your opinion, do you think that generally people understand that message about the film more than thinking of it as like some kind of horror, scary film, because there's a lot of layers to this film. Do you think people kind of are getting more now that the creature is actually, this is what we need to feel sorry about?
Well, I think compared to today's horror films, it's mild. Frankenstein is mild.
Yes.
Today's films are gory. Frankenstein is not. And the horror of today's films is that the gore is dumped right in your lap. Historic scary films, or horror films, if you like, terror films, better phrased, leave a lot more to the imagination of the viewer than today's films do.
Yeah.
And invite the viewer to use his intelligence, to use his imagination. If one does so, one understands the underlying pathos, the underlying empathy that the situation of the creature deserves. And so they're not frightened as much as certainly, or horrified as much certainly as by today's films, which are blood and gore.
Yeah.
This one is not.
No. And that's what I like. I don't like blood and gore. I don't watch them. I won't watch them. They're not my thing. But these films, these Universal films and other things, it's a completely different area. But then again, your father played such great roles that actually, and like you said, it did kind of leave it to the imagination, such as like the Black Cat that also had Bela Lugosi in it, and Bela, sorry, spoilers for a film that is 90, almost 90 years old, that Bela's character is torturing your father's character at the end, and it's you don't really see it, but through the acting
you imagine it.
Get it. Yes,
you imagine what's to come, and that invites the viewer to use his own imagination.
Yes.
Today's films don't do that. They spill it right out.
They don't.
One of the world's worst kept secrets is I don't like scary movies. So it's terrible casting me as my father's daughter.
But did your father like scary movies, or he liked having a good acting role that ended up being in some horror, like horror movies, Universal stuff like that?
The question that he was often asked was, did he mind being typecast? And he said, heavens no, it kept me a working actor. He said that musical actors did musical films. He was typecast in a certain type of role, and however, the fact of the matter is he made 167 films, and they weren't all horror or terror films. He did some comedy. He did a great many films that had nothing to do with the horror genre. And of course, he won a Grammy for being the voice of and the narrator for the animated version of The Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah.
So his career was very, very broad. He was on Broadway in 5 different plays. He had 3 television series of his own, and those programs on television were suspense. They were not horror. They were suspense programs, well written, well directed, and well acted by some of the day's leading actors on television. He had a huge body of radio work. So he was had a broad-based career. He was lucky enough to make a few films like Frankenstein and The Mummy and some other iconic films that kept him working the rest of his life. But Frankenstein was his 81st film, and he said no one saw the first 80. So, he was very, very fortunate to be cast as Frankenstein, as the creature in Frankenstein. And of course, when that film was made, nobody expected the creature to be the star of the film. They all expected Colin Clive, Dr. Frankenstein, to be the star of the film. And so my father wasn't even invited to the premiere of Frankenstein.
Wow.
So, there are all sorts of surprises that come along in life.
And it's interesting too, like, the whole thing at the start of the film when they're the cast of players, and in the beginning, the monster ? And afterwards or for a while that people like that he would be credited as just Karloff, right? Opposed to Boris.
Which was a big honor. There were only a very few actors, and even today, that are credited just by their last name.
Yeah.
It's an honor. It's not neglect or a slap in the face. It's an honor to be credited just by your last name.
Because it's
actually in Frankenstein, when the ending credits rolled, it was his full name, Boris Karloff. His full name.
Yeah, I suppose with it just being Karloff in films that it was just Karloff, it just goes to say there is nobody else that carries that name. That this is the definite article, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, right. Absolutely. That is fantastic. Sara, why don't we go ahead and do this? I'd like to take our first break. When we come back, I have a lot more that we're going to talk about here. This is really, I'm enjoying this. I consider this an honor, and I think you all are going to enjoy this too. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950.
Twin Cities Con returns to the Minneapolis Convention Center for their 5th year, November 7th through the 9th. Twin Cities Con is a celebration of comics, toys, TV, film, art, cosplay, games, and all things nerdy. There's nothing like Twin Cities Con. It's also a family-friendly event where you can meet your favorite celebrities, browse the vendor hall and artist alley for the coolest merch, watch celebrity Q&As, and even more. Twin Cities Con is bigger and better than before. Come see from the Star Wars universe Ahmad Best, Rosario Dawson and Giancarlo Esposito, Brendan Fraser, and the cast of The Mummy, WWE Wrestling Hall of Famers Sting and Mick Foley, and the voice actors from the hit Disney series Phineas and Ferb, plus more guests to be announced. 3 days of action-packed fun in the heart of Minneapolis at the Minneapolis Convention Center. Tickets start at $50. Kids tickets are just $10 for the entire weekend. VIP tickets also available, including a 3-day weekend pass, plus some really cool VIP perks. More guests will be announced. Buy your tickets and get more information at TwinCitiesCon.com.
Make this Halloween one to remember. Join me, Greg Bakun, for a special 4-hour GhostBox Radio Halloween broadcast Friday, October 31st, starting at 7 p.m. We're going live from the haunted Pillsbury Club in Minneapolis, the new home of the Minneapolis Trolley Tours. I'll be joined by Adam, Refined Divine, Char Savoy, and other guests for a real paranormal investigation inside the Pillsbury Club, filled with spirit stories and maybe a few surprises. Want to experience it in person? Trolley tours will be running all night, and if you stop by the club, just say GhostBox Radio at the door to check out the broadcast. Can't make it? Watch the entire investigation live on Facebook and YouTube. So grab your flashlight, light your jack-o'-lantern, and tune in for a night of chills, laughs, and things that go bump on the radio. GhostBox Radio Halloween broadcast, Friday, October 31st, 7 to 11 p.m. Check out trolley times at MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com. Get ready for a magical night. It's the first official Witches Ball in Stillwater. Hosted by Midwest Witchery and Healing, this costume ball at the Tilted Tiki promises live music, belly dancers, tarot readers, and wickedly good cocktails. The best part? Every dollar helps Chris, the Tilted Tiki's owner and friend of GhostBox Radio, in his fight against brain cancer. So come dance, celebrate, and make a difference, all in your best Halloween costume for a chance to win the grand prize. The Witches Ball, 21 and over, at the Tilted Tiki in Stillwater. Don't miss this spellbinding night for a truly worthy cause. And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Before we get back to our guest, Sarah, I just want to remind everybody that this Friday, we are going to be doing a 4-hour live presentation episode of GhostBox Radio. It is Halloween. Take us with you when you go out trick-or-treating or whatever you want to do. We're going to be live at the Pillsbury Club, which is a massive mansion in downtown Minneapolis, haunted. Minneapolis Trolley Tours is there, and they're running tours the whole night. You can come out and see us if you come in. If you come up the door and mention GhostBox Radio, you can hang out, see some of the mansion. And while you're there, why don't you get a ticket to take one of the trolley tours that goes around Minneapolis? It's going to be an incredible night. We are on the air live from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And we're going to be also cutting away to a live paranormal investigation that is happening inside the mansion. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've done these big events the last 3 years, and we're really excited to be partnering up with Minneapolis Trolley Tours again. This is a lot of fun. Our guest tonight, as we are getting closer to Halloween, our guest tonight is Sara Karloff. She is the daughter of Boris Karloff. We've been talking about her father's legacy. We've been talking a little bit about Frankenstein. This is a lot of fun. And Sarah, one of the things I wanted to bring up, because we were talking about the breadth of work that your father had. I'm a big aficionado of British television. And one of the things that a series that he had done in the 60s over in the UK was a series called Out of This World, 1962. And it's an anthology series. So he would bookend, as you well know, he would bookend the series. Unfortunately, only one episode exists of that series, but I have it, and it's fantastic. And it just seeing him, he just, one of the things I read about him was, always brought dignity to everything he did. And I think that that's a great word for it, because there is just this wonderful dignified presence whenever I see him or hear his wonderful voice.
Thank you. I agree with you, and I think the fans agree with you. He was a typical British gentleman. He was British. His real name was William Henry Pratt. And he had been trained for the British, educated for the British Consular Service, and wanted none of it. Thank you very much. Wanted to become an actor, and did, to the horror of his family. But he was a typical British gentleman. He dressed beautifully. He spoke beautifully. He had a wonderful voice. And he always retained his British subjectship. He just was a lovely human being and a wonderful gentleman.
Yeah. And that's everything I read about him is always that. Also, the fact that you were born the same day, the same November 23rd, just like your father.
Correct. I know, we shared our birthday, and that was very special to both of us.
And I was just going to say that. It's like, I wonder if there's ever been any study done with a parent that shares a birthday with one of their daughters or sons, if that tightens a bond in any way. It seems like that would.
I suppose it does. I think I think the bond is tightened because of my devotion to sustaining and protecting his legacy.
Yeah.
I think that's with the help of the fans. If it weren't for the fans, I wouldn't be doing this interview. I'd be home cleaning my own oven. So it's complicated.
Yeah.
And I think sharing a birthday is part of it. Yes.
Absolutely. I'm going to have probably one of the most offbeat questions, and I don't know if you've ever been asked this before, and I'm sure you probably have, because I'm sure you've heard every single question that could possibly be asked. But I was just kind of going.
Question.
I was just going. I was just thinking about this the other day, and I've always kind of wanted to know if your father ever seen the Munsters.
I don't know. But if he had, he would have considered it a compliment.
Yeah. Because in a sense, Fred Gwynne played Herman Munster.
Sure.
In the same sort of vein as your father played the creature, of like with emotion and actually love, really.
Yes.
Really interesting.
Yeah. And I think he would have been certainly complimented. Any sort of imitation or copying is a compliment.
Yeah.
And he would have taken it as such. But I can't answer the question whether or not he ever saw it.
No. Just be. I just thought to myself, like, what would he think? And I just I think that I would, without knowing him at all, I think that what you said makes a lot of sense. And as I'm kind of going through the Frankenstein films, you get to Son of Frankenstein, which is his last in the role of the creature. And did he? I mean, the more and more, Bride is fantastic. Son becomes more of like, he's now becoming a monster. He's being used by all extent, but it's the film series is becoming more and more about, these are all monsters now, that their stories are just more to be, and as I saw it, as just kind of being there because the kids and fans loved it. Was that a consideration for your father to be like, I'm going to need to step away from this? Well,
he felt that he said with tongue in cheek that the monster was his best friend.
Yeah.
It certainly made such a pivotal difference in his life, both personally and professionally. And he said that he felt that the series, if you like, he didn't refer to it as a series, but he felt that the first three films, had developed the character as much as could be, without turning it into the brunt of bad stories, bad scripts, bad jokes. And he wanted no part of that because he felt he owed such so much to that role and that character, that he did not want to be part of turning it into the brunt of bad scripts and bad jokes and bad films.
Would he have been very much against then, like Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein? I mean, I don't think it's a bad. I love the film, but I mean that as far as his the way that he protects his version of the creature, would he have just totally not want anything to do with something like that?
I don't know if he was even offered the role, so I don't know if he turned it down. But it is it's an example of one of the reasons that he decided to not do the role anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he does get in there. I mean, Abbott and Costello meets the killer, Boris Karloff, 1949. Yeah. I mean,
that's different.
That's different, but he still actually gets in there as with Abbott and Costello. I mean, and he,
sure. And he made all sorts of films thereafter. But he did not want to diminish the character.
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, and you can see that, and I'm glad for that. I mean, it just seems like too. I mean, do you know if if your father fought for different things within the films to keep that character the way that he wanted to, because really once you get past Son of Frankenstein, it becomes such a different character anyway, that you have to think that your father's influence is pretty big in the first three films.
Well, I think that he would have objected to anything that diminished the character.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Now, for you yourself, did you? I mean, when did you really start getting involved with like the horror conventions and stuff, and really getting kind of being the face of the whole Karloff Enterprises and stuff? When did that start for you?
It started with a convention in back east that was put on by famous
monsters.
Yeah, famous monsters, and Bela Jr. and Ron Chaney and Dwight Fry and myself were all guests at that convention, and I had no idea that any of that was going on anywhere. Conventions, fans, anything. And when they had asked if I'd been down to see the dealer's room, I thought they were playing poker. I mean, I had absolutely no idea.
Makes sense, yeah.
And we were sort of regarded as the children of the night at that convention. And we couldn't take 5 steps without being asked to sign something for a fan of one of our ancestors. It was certainly an awakening for me. And it was at that show that when I met Bela for the first time, and I met Ron and I met Dwight, I realized the importance of the legacies and the importance and devotion of the fans to these legacies. And I was introduced to the fact that my father's characters was being represented by a certain agent, and I made a point of meeting that agent following that convention, and that was the beginning of Karloff Enterprises.
When it comes to like likenesses and stuff, and protecting like your father's likeness, when it comes to like the creature, is that Universal that has complete control over that imagery of the creature, though? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Yes. And then anything else that's the likeness of your father, then that is more in.
There's a law that protects the rights of the families of deceased celebrities, and they control to a degree, quite a degree, the use of their family members' name and likeness, whereas the studios control the use of the character.
Got it.
That's a brief summation of it.
And I don't know. I mean, I think people are more savvy now, but probably around the time that you were getting into it, I think there's a lot of people who don't understand how important that is and how much money studios were making versus how much they were paying the actors, and that the actors, and correct me if I'm wrong, especially in the time of Frankenstein, you're getting your pay and you're not getting any sort of residuals or any points or anything.
There are no residuals and no royalties.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Right. So something that your father had created that was so iconic, he got whatever the day rate or whatever that was.
Salary.
Yeah. That's,
and it certainly at that point he was an unknown actor. I mean, so he did not get a star's salary for that film.
right.
Thereafter, he was more widely known, and his salary reflected that. But my father became a founding member of the Screen Actors Guild. His card number was number 9, and he felt it was very important. He and the other founding members felt it was very important to protect and provide an instrument, if you like, for up-and-coming actors to be protected from the studios, essentially, to provide reasonable working hours and reasonable working conditions and reasonable salaries. And it provided a negotiating vehicle, it was a union against the studios.
Yep.
And my mother said that they used to park their cars blocks away from one another's houses when they were holding a meeting, when they were forming the guild. And at parties, they would dance by one another on the dance floor and whisper, "Meeting Tuesday night at so-and-so's house," and dance on by. Because they were putting their careers on the line of never working again if the studios learned of the foundation formation of SAG. And of course, SAG today is well known, and one needs to and does join to protect the actors' rights and in some instances their lives. I mean, my father would work 19, 20 hours a day. It took 4 hours to put the makeup on for Frankenstein and 3.5 hours to take it off, and that's a working day hour already. And then he would have 19-hour work days. So there was nothing to protect the actors at that time until the formation of Screen Actors Guild.
And didn't he also hurt his back doing Frankenstein with an injury that stayed with him the rest of his life?
He hurt his back badly and subsequently had 3 back surgeries.
Oh gosh. And SAG is still facing so many uphill battles as we keep going on with AI and the idea of like cloning people.
It will get worse.
It will get worse. Absolutely. Absolutely. And folks who want to read something interesting about unions, not quite the same thing, but read about around the same time, animators creating a union that they wanted to unionize over at the Walt Disney Studios, and just read about that. That's very interesting stuff.
SAG was formed in 1933.
That's right. Yeah. And I've worked with a lot of, and there's a lot of rules that help protect them, and people don't understand. And I don't want to stay on this subject too terribly long, but people don't understand that, an actor may work and they might get a good rate, but they may not work again for months or even a year. And that's why you need to have residuals, and be taken care of, because it's not an easy profession. Some get some really good roles and becomes lucrative. That's a small percentage of the overall actors.
Very small.
So why don't we do this? I'd like to take a break. Let's continue our conversation here. We're talking to the daughter of Boris Karloff, Sara Karloff. What a great conversation. I'm really enjoying this. I hope you are too. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Make this Halloween one to remember. Join me, Greg Bakun, for a special 4-hour GhostBox Radio Halloween broadcast Friday, October 31st, starting at 7 p.m. We're going live from the haunted Pillsbury Club in Minneapolis, the new home of the Minneapolis Trolley Tours. I'll be joined by Adam, Refined Divine, Char Savoy, and other guests for a real paranormal investigation inside the Pillsbury Club, filled with spirits, stories, and maybe a few surprises. Want to experience it in person? Trolley tours will be running all night, and if you stop by the club, just say GhostBox Radio at the door to check out the broadcast. Can't make it? Watch the entire investigation live on Facebook and YouTube. So grab your flashlight, light your jack-o'-lantern, and tune in for a night of chills, laughs, and things that go bump on the radio. GhostBox Radio Halloween broadcast, Friday, October 31st, 7 to 11 p.m. Check out trolley times at MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com. And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. As I mentioned in the last segment, we're going to be doing a live show, 4-hour live show this Friday over at the Pillsbury Club. But tomorrow, I'm also going to be at the Pillsbury Club as we're going to kind of do a preview. And what I want to do is I want to have someone with us. So if you're listening on the radio, you may want to check out our video stream on AM 950 radio on Facebook, or GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun on Facebook, as I want to have someone while we're doing the show walking through with a camera to show the beautiful interior of this mansion. Real fast, the mansion was built in the 1800s, but the Pillsbury family, they actually imported the entire interior of the house from England, and that interior goes back to the 1400s. So it is absolutely beautiful, incredible, and as you can imagine, probably pretty haunted. So check us out tomorrow for that. We're in our final segment here, and I've had the absolute pleasure today to have a conversation with Sara Karloff, the daughter of Boris Karloff. And I feel like, Sara, that only an hour to talk about your father and yourself is no time at all. So every time, and that's why I even asked when we took a break, like, if there's something I should be hitting on, because I feel like every question is like, or should I be asking this question, or should I be asking this question? Because there's so much to this wonderful story. It's really incredible.
There's so much to this man. He was just a lovely human being, the antithesis of the roles he played. And I think that's why his fan base, his legacy, has lasted is lasting as long as it is. It's certainly due to the fans. And when I am fortunate enough to be invited to a convention or a show, I get the honor of meeting his fans. And it's wonderful, the stories they share with me about the impact my father's personality or his persona itself had on them or on a family member of theirs. My father's been gone for 56, going on 57 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
To have, for an actor to have been deceased that long and have the length of his legacy, the size of his legacy, the size of his fan base and following that many years later. There are very few actors in the entertainment business, as it were, who are lucky enough to have had some iconic roles, and then in addition to that have had as broad-based a career, including radio, television. He embraced the new entertainment vehicle of television, which very few Hollywood actors did at first. He had radio, he had television, he had live theater on Broadway, which he enjoyed immensely. And he did, for his legacy to have the long legs that it has, it's due entirely to the fans. And I've said it before in this interview, I'm nothing but a conduit for fans to ask questions of regarding my father, regarding his career. And the reality of it is the fans know far more about his career than I do. And I'm the actual conduit to my father himself.
Yeah.
And it's great fun. I mean, I meet the nicest people because my father was such a nice human being, and there was never or hardly ever a negative word ever written about it.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about being asked rude questions. I can do interviews cold without being concerned about what the questions might be. I can do shows and meet my father's fans and not have to be concerned about the type of questions. They respect the dignity that my father showed because he was dignified. And I'm shown the same respect. And I feel I'm so lucky because I get to meet the nicest people. I go out to these shows and I spend 3 or 4 days having nothing but nice things said to me and learning things about my father. In the world, reason other than father himself, work the face and the legs have the long legs that it has.
Yeah. You're breaking up a little bit for me. I'm hoping that this passes. I don't know if this is on my end or not.
I don't know what would do it here.
Oh, you're back. You're back. So
okay.
There we go. Yeah. So I mean, and yeah, that's the thing about it. And you're absolutely right. It's people love his work, but it's also because he's also been so he's just such a good person that that just permeates out a little bit. I was going to also ask you, because you've been doing these conventions for so long,
I'll say that's because I'm so old.
Well, I was going to ask a couple things then. Okay, the one you talked about, the Famous Monsters one, what was that in the 70s, 80s? Because I'm trying to.
No, that was it. I didn't start doing this until the 90s.
Okay, I didn't know they were still around. Okay, that's fine. Or at least okay.
Famous Monsters was in the early 90s, and so that was the first one I did. And now I do Chiller Theater, and I'm going to be doing it again this October 22nd through I go back on the 22nd. It's the 24th through the 26th. And it's in Parsippany, New Jersey, at the Parsippany Hilton. And it's a wonderful show. They have everything at Chiller Theater, from Russian wrestlers to scream queens. They have full casts of various television shows or primarily films. It's a wonderful show, and it's as I say, it's the Friday evening and all day Saturday and all day Sunday at the Parsippany Hilton and in New Jersey, and it's a wonderful show.
It sounds great.
I just have a wonderful time because I learned so much about my own father, and I spend 3 days of having people say nice things to me.
As they should. So over time, has the crowds grown? Because I could imagine that it's gotten more fans out to these.
Multi-generational.
Yeah.
These films are multi-generational in their appeal, and they're multi-generational in the fans. And grandparents bring their grandchildren to these shows. So that shows you, the film was made in 1931, Frankenstein, and then The Mummy. But as I said, Frankenstein was my father's 81st film, and he made 167. He had 3 television series of his own. So there's a broad base of material for people to be fans of.
Yeah.
And then he did his Broadway work, and he had a huge body of radio work. So there's an immense a body of material and work of Boris Karloff's for fans to be fond of and follow. So, as I say, the fans know far more about my father's work than I could ever learn.
Absolutely. No, that and the first time I saw it, Frankenstein, that is, was with my dad. I kind of dedicate tonight to him, because that is that wonderful moment of sharing that moment with a loved one and a family member. And it seems like, your parents is going to show you that film or whatever else. What were your reactions when you saw it for the first time?
I was 19 years old when I saw it for the first time on television by myself in my family's living room. And so by that time, of course, I'd heard so much about it that I watched it rather studiously. I wasn't frightened. I enjoyed it immensely, and I was delighted to finally have the opportunity to see it. I was raised it's not exactly a girls' film.
Right.
And I was raised going to private girls' schools, and it wasn't the kind of film you went to see, whether it was my father's or not. And I had to wait for it to come around. No matter how old I may look on this show, I wasn't born when the film was made. So I had to wait for it to come back around, not in the theaters, I wasn't even old enough, but for it to come around on television.
Yeah, because I mean, for those who are listening or younger, then there's just for many of us, there wasn't home video till much later, where you or certainly not streaming, where you could just watch stuff whenever. It's like that's what television became, event television, for a while, for people to be able to see stuff like that. Now, I'm going to ask you something, and I'm hoping you're not going to give me the everything answer, like, oh, it's everything, I love it all. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a personal favorite piece of work that your father has done?
Targets. Targets. The film Targets he made with Peter Bogdanovich.
Okay.
I mean, of course, I love Frankenstein, and I love the films he made with Val Lewton and everything. But my favorite film, I believe, is Targets that he made with Peter, in which he plays an aging horror film star. It was very timely. It was released during the time of the Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy assassinations. And so it was pulled from the theaters prematurely, and then it was released in box form thereafter. So it was not widely distributed, or it didn't last in theaters very long. But it is a really very fine film. It unfortunately is as applicable today as and appropriate as it was when it was made. It's about a sniper. It's about violence in the community, and my father. It addressed my father's own feelings that the real horror, the real violence, is on the streets and not up on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what incredible. And I'm going to admit, I have not seen it, and I'm going to put that to the top of my list to see, because that sounds absolutely excellent. And it's
wonderful. It really is a very fine film, and my father tells the story close to the end of it, and he did it in one take. And the whole cast and crew applauded. And it brought tears to my father's eyes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a nice untold story.
Folks, if you have seen Targets, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and your thoughts on any of Boris Karloff's work. Sarah, I have to end this. We have to get going. It flew by. It flew by really quickly, and I really appreciate you giving me so much of your time. I really enjoyed this.
I enjoyed it too. You're a wonderful interviewer.
Oh, that's very
kind. Thank you very much for having me on your show. I enjoyed every second of it.
And I'm hoping that if we ever do it again, I'll know the difference between cats and dogs, I promise.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so, for goodness sakes. Both have 4 feet and a tail. One barks and the other meows.
Everyone, join us tomorrow at Pillsbury Club. Thank you, Sarah. We'll be back tomorrow.
Thank you.